Hey guys, welcome to the workshop. In today's video, I wanted to talk about drill bits, so stick around. Okay, so what I want to do is take the Montana brand and the Harbor Freight brand brad tip drill bits and compare them. I want to see how different they really are, if it's really worth more to pay more for the Montana brand versus the Harbor Freight brand, to see how long they last, and just to compare maybe the build and the quality of it. So let's jump right into it and let's just talk about it first. Alright, so first glance, first obvious difference, these are Harbor Freight Montana brand. Harbor Freight has one extra drill bit. It's a 7-piece versus 6-piece. Honestly, I don't see why that really matters. You can tell clearly there's a difference in how these are actually made. Neither one of them really state what the material actually is, although the Montana brand does say black oxide. They don't say anything on this. But you can tell this has more of a, the paint is a little rough, whereas this is smooth. And both of these haven't really been used at all. They are a little dirty just from being in the shop. So we're going to take the two largest ones and compare those. We're going to set the other ones aside. And we're going to just do some quick, easy tests with these.
Okay, so I want to take a quick pause break and just mention the Montana brand comes in retail basically 25 bucks. And then the Harbor Freight brand, well, it's $5.39. Definitely, clearly a difference there. The Montana brand does have a coating on the drill bit. That's why it's got a smooth shank, whereas the Harbor Freight does not. And the Montana brand does say it's made in USA. Ours, we know, Harbor Freight is not. Let's jump right back into the comparison.
So we're going to perform two tests because both of these state the same thing, that you can use them for hardwood or softwood. We're going to use poplar here, and we're going to use some spruce pine. Montana brand is a little bit longer. Also, the shaft. I'm going to bring in a nice up-close look at this, but the Harbor Freight is completely a round shaft, whereas the Montana brand has flat sides. And what is neat about this, it's not 4-sided, it's 3-sided. And that's because the chuck on your drill, most of the time, is 3 little fingers that grab that. So when you tighten your chuck on there, it's going to get a really good bite. This is not going to spin in your drill press, whereas this could slip a little bit. Also, the tips are a little different. The Montana brand one comes to a much better point. Harbor Freight one has a point, but it's kind of wide. The brad tip on the Montana one is definitely just a point. As far as the actual blade themselves on either end, they pretty much match each other on the angle. But if you look at it this way, you can clearly tell there's a different milling process they both undertake. This actually much more looks like a traditional drill bit, just with a different grind on it, whereas this one is definitely fabricated differently. So this is how I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the Harbor Freight one, put it in my drill. I'm going to drill through the poplar first, and then we're going to do the pine. Nice even pressure. Okay, I'm not going to touch the underside at all. The biggest advantage to using these type of drill bits are that it's supposed to make the other end of it less of a blowout, and they're supposed to be easier to use, kind of like a Forstner drill bit. Okay, I have to unclog that one. Well. Oh, grief. Well, for soft wood, it was quite hard. Alright, now we're going to put in the Montana brand. So I did not see any slipping on that with the drill. I'd imagine if you were going through a lot of wood, maybe you would. So we're going to just move up here and do the same thing with this one. Oh, okay, that actually bit in, but it is not slipping in my drill. That is a good thing. Okay, what are we hitting there? There's nothing in there. Okay. that took a little more effort for the Montana brand. Now I'm not done this test before, so you're seeing all this for the first time, just like I am. I'm doing it in a poplar. That went through a whole lot easier. Alright, so let's take a closer look. Okay, so this one was the Harbor Freight, and this was the Montana. So I haven't wiped these off at all so we can see them really good. They both look pretty good on the entry hole. They're really nothing majorly different. I felt like the Montana went in a lot easier with this, and we're not far off, so the grain is pretty much the same. Same thing on the pine. As you saw, we had a little more trouble with this, and the way I'm thinking is that has a lot more bite to it. And it was catching in the fibers in the wood, but the drill wood isn't slipping either. This one here kind of slips on the wood, which is why I had to clear it so many times. This one just kept biting into it, so I think the bite, that drill bit is definitely sharper. Let's look at the other side. I don't mind the logo. Those were testing from my branding iron. Alright. Well, it's clear to me Harbor Freight definitely has a much more intense blowout. Normally I would put a piece of wood on the back side so you don't have any blowout. But for this test I wanted to just give it a try and see. So this one has some blowouts right in the both sides. This one is pretty bad. This one it more or less splintered. Not much necessarily a blowout. This piece here was already kind of messed from that, but it's not as intense. This one here is much smaller. So I would say between the two, there isn't an entirely large difference, with the exception that the Montana definitely was quicker through hardwood, definitely bites stronger, whereas the Harbor Freight likes to slip. You've got to clear the drill bit out. The way that it's designed here, it just seems like the wood doesn't have a good channel to get out, whereas the Montana brand one is better. This is nice and smooth, and on these they're nice and rough. And honestly, there's more of a gap on the Montana versus the Harbor Freight. So I can see how the chips are getting out quicker, especially with the way that the tips are. This is just, it's easily going to slip, and I could see that happening. All right, so far I would say Montana is definitely probably the better of the two. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to give this a workhorse test. We're going to drill 10 holes on this side of the Harbor Freight and 10 holes on this side of the Montana brand. And basically we're just trying to give it some wear and tear, see how they turn out once it's all said and done. So here we go. Okay, well, after doing 15 of each, I would say the Harbor Freight actually goes through a little easier, but this Montana brand, you can tell it's got a lot. It wants to do more. Neither one. The Harbor Freight is just horrible. The blowouts are horrible. The Montana are pretty bad. I do have these holes close together, but it is relatively less. But let's look at these drill bits. Well, I don't really see any nicks or wear and tear yet. Gonna have to give it a little more usage to really get a good bit. I can tell this does have some chips in it. Yeah. Yeah, the Harbor Freight does have some small nicks in the blade already on the sharpened tip. That's pretty bad. That's still clean as a whistle. We're going to do one more test. So for the final test, we're going to do something really hard. A piece of oak. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of oak. This is red oak. I'm going to just put a board behind it because I'm not going to be able to hang it off the workbench. We'll do the Harbor Freight one first and see how this does. Not too bad. Now let's do the Montana brand. That was a little easier putting through that. Okay, so in conclusion, I have to say if you compare the two, there's a lot of similarities. They both have a relatively same amount of blowout that you get on the other side. The entry point of the wood is round about the same. Harbor Freight's a little bit more intense, so it looks a little rougher, where the Montana brand does seem to do better. The build of them both, I think the Montana brand looks so much better, and it seems to be much durable, and there's a lot more thought that went into putting this product out, because it's smooth. The shaft, the grooves are smooth, so there's less places for the wood chips to get caught on. Whereas the Harbor Freight, they get caught on, as you saw. So as you can tell also, the Montana brand does like to catch, and the reason for that is because it's really biting into the wood. Normally you'd want to use these more in a drill press, so the drill press is going to have a lot more strength behind it, so it's probably not going to bind as much. But with the hand drill, it still goes through. Harbor Freight on your hand will go straight through, but it does tend to slip in the wood, and you've got to pull the wood out, or pull the drill bit out, clear the wood, go back in, and I did it like 3 times on a piece of pine that's only 1.5 inches long. So I would still rather go with the Montana brand versus having to keep on clearing chips out. So I would definitely say the Montana brand outweighs it. But what is the selling point for me to say Montana brand is the winner of these two brands is because the durability. You can already tell just with doing 15 simultaneous holes that the Harbor Freight already has chipped, and the Montana brand looks brand new like it was when I opened it up. So definitely Montana brand is the winner. So I did get these Montana brand drill bits gifted to me. They were given to me by Montana brand, and they are really, really nice. A really good company. They make good products. I also got a couple more drill bits and tools of theirs that I really, really like. So this video is not sponsored by them, but I do want to tell you, if you are interested in getting some of their drill bits, head over to their website and click the link below in the description. Buy some of these drill bits. They're really, really good. Reach out to them on Instagram and tell them B&O Craftsman sent you over to buy some drill bits. Hey guys, thank you for watching this video. I hope that you got something out of this. It's kind of not really a tip, a little bit of a tool testing thing, but that's the kind of stuff I like to do on this channel. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you next time right here in the workshop.